In the high desert plains of northern Arizona, there's a stretch of land known to the locals as Dry Creek Hollow. On maps, it's nothing but a jagged patch of canyons and red dust, cut off from the rest of the world by cliffs and silence. There are no paved roads in or out, no cell reception, and only a handful of families who still live near the edge of the hollow. Most of them are Navajo or Hopi, descendants of people who have lived in the region for centuries. And all of them, without exception, avoid the hollow after sunset. When Clay Mitchell inherited a cabin near Dry Creek from his grandfather, he didn't believe in the stories. He was 35, a former military medic turned traveling mechanic, and the closest thing he had to faith was in what he could see and touch. His grandfather, a quiet and deeply spiritual man, had always told him that Dry Creek was sacred ground, powerful, yes, but also dangerous. Clay chalked it up to old traditions and superstition. So when he left Phoenix to spend a few months off-grid, he didn't hesitate to make the cabin his base of operations. The cabin itself was modest. A small one-story structure built from weathered wood, with a sagging porch and a rusted water pump out back. There was no power, no running water, and only an old wood-burning stove to keep warm at night. Still, Clay felt a strange sense of comfort there. Maybe it was nostalgia, or maybe it was the absence of noise, the kind of silence you only get in places where even the birds go quiet after dark. During the first week, Clay worked on the place. He patched holes, repaired the generator, and cleared out decades of dust and cobwebs. He kept busy during the day and listened to old radio broadcasts at night while he drank whiskey by the fire. He slept well, no bad dreams, no strange sounds. But then came the second week. That's when things started to shift. It began with the animals, or rather, the absence of them. The lizards that used to sun themselves on the rocks were gone. Coyotes, usually bold and loud in the evening, went silent. He didn't even hear crickets. One morning, Clay found a jackrabbit near his woodpile completely intact, but dead. Its eyes had been removed, not clawed, not bitten. Just gone, like they'd been plucked clean with surgical precision. Then came the tracks. He noticed them one morning around the side of the cabin. Prints in the red dust, humanoid, but wrong. They were too long. The toes too spaced, the arch too deep, and the stride was enormous. Whoever had made them would have had to be at least 7 feet tall. Clay followed them for about 30 feet before they simply vanished. No sign of a jump, no drag marks. Just there one moment and gone the next. He tried to rationalize it, maybe an animal, maybe his own boot prints distorted by wind. But by the third night, reason gave way to unease. He was sitting on the porch, sipping from a tin cup, when he heard it. A long, low whistle, coming from the edge of the tree line. Not a tune, not a call. Just a flat, constant note that sent a chill through his bones. Clay stood up, squinting into the dark. The whistle stopped. A few seconds later, it started again, but now from the opposite side of the clearing. Then again, behind the cabin. He went inside and locked the door. That night, something scratched at the walls. Not claws, fingernails. Long, slow drags, like someone was tracing the cabin's edges with the tips of their fingers. He stayed awake all night with a rifle across his lap, staring at the door. The next morning, he found deep scratches around every window and door frame. Not fresh gouges, old, weathered ones that hadn't been there the day before. Like they had always been part of the wood, just hidden. He thought about leaving. He even packed the truck, but something kept him there, a stubbornness, a pull. And part of him, the same part that had survived firefights overseas, didn't want to be scared off by whispers and shadows. On the 9th night, just past 2 a.m., he heard footsteps on the roof, heavy ones, followed by a thump, then another. Then something began circling above him. Clay stepped outside, shotgun in hand, and saw nothing. He swept the area with a flashlight. Still nothing. But when he looked up at the edge of the roof, he saw a figure crouched there. It looked like a man naked, gaunt and pale, but its eyes reflected the beam like an animal's. It opened its mouth, and instead of a voice, it mimicked Clay's own. "Put the gun down." The voice was perfect. His own words thrown back at him, tone and cadence identical. Clay fired. The figure vanished over the edge of the roof. He searched the area. No blood, no tracks. Just that damn whistle again, far off in the trees. The next day, he drove to the nearest trading post and found an elder named Thomas Yazzie. Thomas was quiet at first, but when Clay described what had happened, the old man's face darkened. He told Clay he should never have gone near the hollow alone. He explained what Clay already feared, that he was being stalked by a skinwalker. According to Navajo legend, skinwalkers are witches who use dark rituals to transform into animals or take on the voices of others. They feed on fear, confusion, and death. They cannot cross circles of ash or sage, and they often mimic the voices of loved ones to lure people out. Thomas gave him a small bag of herbs and a bundle of white sage, telling him to burn it and stay inside until sunrise if the skinwalker came again. Clay thanked him, returned to the cabin, and did exactly that. That night, the creature returned. It didn't scratch or whistle. This time it called to him. First, in the voice of his grandfather, soft, pleading, asking to be let in from the cold. Then, in the voice of Clay's ex-wife, sobbing, saying she was lost and hurt outside. Clay sat by the fire, burning sage and whispering prayers he barely remembered. When the voices stopped, something slammed into the front door hard enough to shake the cabin, then silence. The next morning, he found hoof prints all around the cabin, but not horse hooves. Something smaller, like deer, but with claws at the end. Inside the woodpile, beneath the tarp, he found a dead coyote. Its eyes were gone, its body twisted. But worse, its jaw had been split open and wired shut with strands of human hair. That was the last night Clay spent at the cabin. He sold the land to a private company and never looked back. They bulldozed the cabin 6 months later, but the locals say the hollow is still cursed. Sometimes hikers report hearing whistling in the dark, or voices that sound like family members calling from the trees. And every so often, someone finds tracks too long, too deep, vanishing mid-stride leading straight into Dry Creek Hollow. If these stories gave you chills, make sure to hit that like button. It helps more people find this video and maybe even share their own experiences in the comments. Have a story you think we should tell? Drop it below. I read every one. And if you enjoy getting scared, subscribe and turn on notifications. I post new horror every week, just like this.